We are all burned out of time. Welcome into Box Office Quarterbacks. I'm here with my guys, Ahmed and Jeff, and there's one reason why we're all here together. Ahmed has the helmet. This is a full spoiler review of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, as my dog is eating. We are all getting ready. Well, we're actually not getting ready. We're getting ready to actually talk about this film, the entry into Phase 5. But first off, we got to start with the pleasantries. Guys, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to argue today. So, been waiting.
Eric, I'll forgive you for not writing or calling and making me feel victimized as a result because you and I are on the same side. So,
it's always good when we don't talk about it, when we actually let our thoughts flow during the podcast. So, man, Jeff, man, you said you ready to argue. We're gonna get right into it. First, you guys touched on Ant-Man 3 and the non-spoiler edition of the episode. Very, very brief, very to the point. Got your thoughts out there, but now you can let it all fly. Here, this is the full spoiler review. We're gonna give you the warning straight up. We ain't even gonna go into the whole charade of what do we think right now, Jeff. All right, what did you think of the third entry of Scott Lang and the crew?
It's disappointing, and now that I can say what I want to say, if it wasn't for Kang, like with Kang, this movie is a 6 out of 10. Without Kang, I would put it at like a 3 out of 10. It is very disappointing. I think the villain makes it. I do think that Kang was introduced in the wrong Marvel property. I don't hate this movie, but I think Ant-Man was the lowest stakes property you could have put one of the most important villains to be introduced in. That's what I think.
you know, to Jeff's point, the plot is a little far-fetched. I mean, right off the bat, you hate Scott Lang's daughter, Cassie. You're like, wow, you are annoying as hell. And then, of course, Janet, who's been keeping this big secret for like forever. Like, really? What the hell's going on here? Why are the two out of the three important ladies in Scott Lang's life fucking him over? And yeah, but I mean, yeah, I don't think I'd give it like a 3 out of 10 for sure.
But we went 6. But I mean, I was not a fan of the quantum realm whatsoever. I can see maybe spending maybe a quarter of the movie there, but the whole movie just kind of erases the charm of Ant-Man. The charm of Ant-Man is a guy who can get really small in the real world and play around with like things like a coffee mug or a briefcase and have a fight on a train set. When you take that away, you're just another small guy in a microscopic world. And I think we've done the crazy type of environments better in things like Guardians of the Galaxy. And I just think they really wanted to go that route or like a Thor Ragnarok route. And I don't think it particularly landed this time.
But I think all things considered... Or go ahead, Eric.
So I guess... we'll get into it. So, I mean, this question is just right off the top of my mind after you said it, and I'll give my thoughts after you answer, Jeff. So, what property would you have liked to see Kang introduced in?
I mean, the Marvels make sense if it's a cosmic story, and you have like 3 of the most powerful three of the most powerful heroes in the multiverse, and Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, and Kamala Khan. I think that is the story to introduce him into. It's easier that way. He could have been in a time prison. There could have been a different way to do it. Like they did make it make sense in this movie, but when this Kang variant dies at the end of this movie, so it kind of erases.
Not really.
Like I've heard multiple different things on this. Like, does he die? Does he not die? I don't know. Him going out against Ant-Man is just not what I expected. I really didn't.
But if you think about it, you said this isn't the first time we're seeing Kang. Technically, it was
He
Loki.
Who Remains, yeah.
So he wasn't technically introduced in Ant-Man. He was just the story was just, I guess, more fleshed out. So I mean, I'll just go into my thoughts right now. Honestly, it was okay. It was decent. Like I listened to our you guys talk about it in the non-spoiler review. Jeff, you said it was one of the worst Marvel movies. I would be honest.
No, yeah.
I'll be honest. It really isn't. It's again. I'm still on that. I'm a Black Widow truther. Black Widow's not that bad. If you were, it's not in the most recent releases. Thor 4 was probably the worst in the MCU, and I think I would put that on the lower tier of Marvel movies, especially especially since I haven't seen it since, and I will not see it again unless if someone else is controlling the remote. Then they're like, "Oh, I want to watch Thor 4." I'll be like, "Okay, cool. I'll sit here and watch it." I mean, that's probably on the lower rung. Thor: The Dark World, Iron Man 2, like Avengers: Age of Ultron. Actually, Avengers: Age of Ultron isn't that
Iron
bad.
Man 3.
Iron Man
That one-
3.
That one aged better. It did.
I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's as
If Iron Man 3 aged better, then Godfather 3 has aged better.
I mean, once you get past the Mandarin twist, it is much better.
yeah.
Like, I
so
think-
don't- I have to disagree with you there. I don't think this 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 entry into the MCU is as bad as they. I'll put it probably on the second tier. Again, I'm also an Eternals truther. I love the Eternals.
Yeah.
I'll put it there. I'll put Ant-Man 3 with let's see, what would I put Ant-Man 3 with? Iron Man with Iron Man 1, the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, like those type of movies. Like I'll put it there. Going into this film, like we kind of like knowing us, like we're I want to say we're deep into the MCU, but we understand the tea leaves. We get like what we're going to expect. And the one thing that like I've religiously told you guys, the one thing, as long as they set up Kang to be a bad MFer, I'm gonna be good with this movie because at the end of the day, it's Ant-Man. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like we knew they were gonna spend time in the quantum realm, so it's just like, I mean, there's really not much you can say, as long as they establish Kang, because at the end of the day, movie was just a starting point for Phase 5, which I think it went out and did its job. It established Kang as that dude, that person that we're going to have to want to actually be invested in to watch other movies, because like we all said, like Phase 4 was a little bit all over the place, and it was just like, where are we going? I got a better understanding of incursions that was talked about in Multiverse of Madness. I got a better understanding for that in this film. They did a great job with Janet Van Dyne's character being that plot device to introduce Kang. So I don't really see what there was I don't see how it was that bad if it established what it needed to do, because now it's like, okay, now I'm interested to see, will Kang pop up or a variant of Kang pop up in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It makes me want to watch that, even though I was going to watch it anyway. Will a variant of Kang pop up in the Marvels this year, which again is something that we were probably going to watch the Marvels anyway, but it's like, okay, now this is starting to feel like the earlier phases where it's like, where do we see Thanos next? We saw him in Guardians of the Galaxy and then we saw him at the end of Age of Ultron. Then we saw him in Infinity War, where he laid waste to everybody and was just like, all right, now it's Kang's turn, and it's just like, okay, Fantastic Four is coming out. Will he be? Well, you have to mention him there because that's leading directly into Kang Dynasty. So I think they did their job with this film. That's why I guess I don't feel as strict or as bad about the how everything unfolded. So I mean, that's just me, and that's my takeaway.
Yeah, so like I get your points and everything. there was a big actor that I really missed in this movie, and that was Michael Pena as Luis. Yeah,
Eric wants them all bumped. He wants all their Christmases canceled.
That is the best character in the first two Ant-Man movies. So that I felt that absence a little bit. Cassie, like Ahmed said, is not the strongest character. It actually made me feel less excited about a Young Avengers movie, which I wasn't really excited for in the first place. Like the Midnight Boys, who we listened to, Eric, said that Marvel writes all their kid heroes the same, which is like, hey, look at me, I'm a kid genius, and I can build this super cool thing in my garage, or something like that. Like, they do need to get away from that. I think they did a good job with Kate Bishop. That was the best younger version of a hero that we've seen, but Cassie, I don't know, it just didn't land with me in this movie.
How many kid geniuses are you going to have?
I mean, we actually, that's the only thing. We actually don't even know who would actually be in the Young Avengers, because then what is it? Was it Iron Patriot? The one from Falcon and the Winter Soldier that was with Bradley, his grandson. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a kid genius, but it's just he's a Young Avenger. So we'll see how that all turns. I mean, eventually this is what they're going to do. That's probably the least surprising of everything. Like, we know Young Avengers is coming out, and I mean, I guess I didn't really care too much for Cassie, I guess, because they recasted the actress. So it was like, I don't know. It was kind of like, and then just like reading all the rumors why they did it, because like
it was kind of messed up to the other actress, I think.
Yeah, apparently like Peyton Reed wanted like a bigger name actress.
What was it? I didn't know this.
As opposed to the one that was in Endgame, who's more of an indie actress. But I'm just like, I would have preferred the continuity to keep that one. But I mean, she had her moments. But like I said, like, I don't really care about Young Avengers, so it's just like, man, get these kids out of here. Like, but I get it. But yeah, well, I mean, again, it wasn't really.
She was all right.
It wasn't really that big of a deal to me, because again, Cassie being involved made me care about Scott more, and I saw like, okay, Scott wasn't messing around when it came to her. So it was just like when he was strapped up against the wall when Kang was interrogating him, asking him to help, and Scott was like, no. And then you saw like the fatherly instincts when he was just like, you know what, I'm gonna get to you through Cassie by like his ways of intimidating her. I like that. Like, I saw like, okay, all right, Scott's serious when he needs to be serious. So I think Cassie helped out in that aspect, and she had her moments, especially with MODOK and then her turning big and everything like that. I don't think Cassie was the problem, but Jeff, like how we were talking before we recorded, it was more of like the rebellion that was just like, okay, who are all the, like, I kind of wish that they had more significance,
I didn't care about them after a while, and their leader gets locked up and Cassie frees her from prison, but I still didn't know her name at this point in the movie. It was just so forgettable, and then you have William Jackson Harper from The Good Place, who is a great actor, who I wanted to see as, like, Mr. Fantastic. Like, that was one of the actors I wanted, but you just put him in a random role like this, I think you wasted him. I would have loved to see him as, like, a bigger name character. So the rebellion part of it was definitely one of the disappointing factors for me.
But I think we're all in agreement. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ahmed. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think we're all in agreement, though, that Kang is really the star of this movie. And I said in the previous episode, the non-spoiler one, that Jonathan Majors really... This is a prequel to Kang. And I want to kind of go back to Eric when you talked about that scene where Kang is interrogating him. I think this kind of sets a new. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this sets a new precedent for villains because I'm reminded of Michael B. Jordan in that scene where he grabs that lady by the throat whenever he says "burn the rest of the flowers." And she's like not wanting to do it. And he says, "When I say do something, I mean that shit." And Jonathan Majors took it to a whole nother level by saying, "Do I look like a liar? Do I look like someone who, doesn't like to be taken seriously?" He didn't have to show off his bravado. He didn't have to, be this big figure like Thanos. He literally just had to do this and just use his voice, and that was enough to make you go, "All right, whatever the hell you want me to do, I'll do it." So yeah,
and it was all, and one of the lines that I was just like, all right, they're doing a good job establishing Kang was when they showed during the scene where Janet touched the time chair and
little cosmic thing.
Yeah, and Kang is asking her like, "Oh, what's going on?" When he realized like, okay, all right, damn it, she saw it. And she was like, "Oh, I'm not going to help you kill millions." And he was like, "I don't care." Like, I was like, all right, this is a bad dude, man. We lost Ahmed, but he should be coming back soon. But, Jeff, when it comes to Kang, do you think they did a good job with setting him up to be the next big threat?
Yes, because I am more scared of Kang in 2 appearances than I ever was with Thanos. Because I think the mystery is the biggest reason why. With Thanos, you knew his endgame. You knew that he wanted to collect the stones and wipe out half of the universe. With Kang, you don't know how he's going to get to his goal to create one timeline. It could be like massacring millions of universes for him to get to that point. So, and the fact that Jonathan Majors just plays him completely straight, no humor, it makes him all the more scary, I would say.
And I know, just going back to what we were discussing about just some of the things that we dislike. Do you think that what could have helped us care more for those rebellion fighters, the freedom fighters, and everyone else, as if we saw Kang get exiled by the other Kangs, and then like the process of him conquering parts of the quantum realm? Because I thought if we saw Kang get exiled by the other Kangs, it would have made more sense, especially if they showed him in the quantum realm doing what he was doing, taking people from their homes and doing all that. Do you think you would have felt more sympathy, or do you think a scene like that would have been necessary?
I think so, because, I mean, there was so much exposition in this movie. Bill Murray exists in this movie just for exposition. And I love Bill Murray, and I love seeing him on screen, but there was too much of that, and there's too much of that when it came to the Rebels and everything. So, yeah, like, maybe opening with that as opposed to the scene we did open on would have been a good start. I'm not saying like that this is the worst Marvel movie ever made. I there were some things I wanted changed. I just wish I cared about some of those new characters a little more than what I did. So I don't know. That's probably my biggest gripe of it, besides like the CGI, is the side characters, I would say.
So, speaking of side characters and characters in general, what's your top 5 characters in this film that you liked from best to worst? We'll start with you, Jeff.
Yeah, so Kang, obviously, I mean, he's going to be number 1 for all of us. Like, you can't take away from the problems of this movie what Jonathan Majors did. It's like having it's like the best player in the NBA on the worst team. Like, he cooked every single scene that he was in. Like, it's like Michael Jordan, prime Michael Jordan, put him on, like, some shitty team back there. I don't even know, the Charlotte Hornets, something like that. That's what he was. He's my number one. Michelle Pfeiffer is number two because this is really Janet Van Dyne's movie, and yeah, she really was the glue that connected all these stories together. So she's two. Scott will be three. I loved Hank Pym in this movie. I really did. And when he leads an army of ants into the final battle, I thought that was really cool and very comic booky. Number five is going to be MODOK. That dude is weird. I like that he was Yellow Jacket from the first movie. His death scene was hilarious as a death scene. It was funny because he dies and Scott's like, "Oh man, it's been a long day," and then that's kind of that. So that is my top five.
And then he was like, "Oh, I'm an Avenger now." Like, wait, buddy, I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
What about you?
You don't just do a bunch of crappy stuff and then just expect to be redeemed at the last minute. What is this? Christianity? Sorry, I didn't mean that. Yes, I did. Obviously, Kang, of course, is number one. MODOK was probably on the second to last, and just because I really didn't like, Cassie being such a brat and just going, wow, you started this. Because of you and Sylvie, now the whole universe is ruined. Way to go. And so, but yeah, of course, Janet, like Michelle Pfeiffer, or as Key and Peele say, Michelle Pfeiffer, she does an amazing job. And Jonathan Majors, in an interview he was doing talking about her, he was saying what an amazing actress she was and how amazing it was to work with her. So my category is going to be just as similar as Jeff's, but I don't think I would even include MODOK.
Okay, so I think for me, I'll go, obviously, man, Jonathan Majors, Kang, one, for reasons that we've stated. I'll go Michelle Pfeiffer and Janet Van Dyne as two, because it was a good idea for her to be the plot point as to introducing Kang, meaning, because, she spent 30 years in the quantum realm, so it made sense for her. When it comes three, I'll go Scott, because at times, man, Scott turned it on, really. Scott got busy, because you could definitely tell the love he had for his daughter, which was what spearheaded him to want to continue fighting, even though Kang was whooping his ass at the end. Four, I'm gonna go the ants. Actually, the ants.
Oh,
I'm gonna go the ants.
How can we forget about the ants?
They did their thing, and then five. You would have thought that a movie that said Ant-Man and the Wasp, you get more Wasp, but
oh yeah,
we haven't even talked about her. It's been 4 minutes.
But five. I'm gonna go Hank Pym. Honestly,
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna say, and maybe Hope. Like, nah, Hank.
Hank Pym, I feel Hank Pym did way more.
He did. He literally did. Which sucks because didn't one of y'all find a tweet, or was it Gerald, that said that the actress who played Hope wanted to have her own standalone movie? It's like,
yeah.
Why? No offense, but it's just why.
I was like, is it though?
What have you done? What have you done for us? Nothing. I don't even know who plays her. That's the worst part about it. I don't even know who.
It's Evangeline Lilly, but I've never seen a hero just disappear in their own movie before. That was pretty crazy.
One of the titular heroes disappear.
I forgot she was in this movie until she saved Scott at one point from that weird incursion storm. I was like, oh yeah, there she is. That's her. Hope she's back.
She saves him after he did 90% of the work.
Nah, he was getting his ass whooped. So man, I was like, all right, this is the scene they show Kang as that dude, man, because he was ripping his shoulder out of his socket. He was I'm probably gonna watch the movie again just for that scene. Just he was whooping Scott, man. I was like, damn.
I thought Scott was gonna die at that point. I was like, oh shit, are they gonna do this now?
Waiting for.
You know, there were a lot of Easter eggs, like when it came to certain scenes. I was hoping just for shits and giggles that Scott was gonna get up and go, "I can do this all day." You know what I mean?
Oh man, I would have loved
just for
that.
shits and giggles, just for like, oh God, no.
I'm out. So if we talk about the final scene, we know Kang, this variant of Kang dies in the end. We expect more Kangs to pop up in the MCU, especially in this multiversal saga phase. We got 2 post-credit scenes, two big ones at the end of this film. The first one, we see who exiled this variant of Kang. We saw a variant of Kang as Ruma Tut. We saw a variant of Kang. Let me make sure I get this right. We saw a variant of Kang as Mortis and the Scarlet Centurion. What did you guys think of this scene, especially the council of Kangs at the end? And damn, after that scene, I was just like, how are they gonna lose? Like,
Yeah, like it makes you so much more scared of someone like Kang than Thanos, because you saw 2 versions of Thanos, kind of, where it was like 2014 Thanos and 2022, or whenever he fought at Avengers Endgame. This is completely different. You have so many different versions of this genius villain who is so in tune with the universe, with science. He could beat you like 50 million different ways, and there are thousands of versions of him. So it made me very scared for whatever version of the Avengers we're going to get in Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty.
And there's so many different implications of what could and what might happen whenever Kang is introduced to Scott and he says, "Oh, did I kill you before?" Where he's like trying to remember, because he's killed so many, and he's like, did he kill Thor in one of these universes? Because he said, "Are you the one with the hammer?" So, I mean, clearly that he has the power to kill at least one variant of Thor, or at least one version of Thor in some reality. Who's to say Eric doesn't get his wish and everybody gets bumped off? You know what I mean? There was a Kree version of Kang. Ultimately, it's like, I feel that what's going to happen is the entire cinematic universe started with Robert Downey Jr., and it's going to end with Jonathan Majors. And somehow, some way, it's going to come full circle. And I think it's just going to be beautiful. So I'll be patient now. Eric, you remember in one of the last episodes, I kind of was talking about where is this all going to go. I'll be very patient because I'm excited now. And Marvel Studios, take as much time as you need to make it the way it should be. Just make the wait worth it. And so far, I'm very invested, and I'm looking forward to it now.
And I know a lot of people were going back to Loki after the second post-credit scene, which seems like it was a scene straight out of Loki season 2, where we find Loki and Morbius in the 1920s, and they meet up with a guy named Victor Timely, another Kang variant. So we know that Kang is going to be in a lot of MCU properties. I guess this time they're showing that, hey, it might be Loki. It's going to be Loki season 2. You can definitely bank on that. What were your thoughts on the second post-credit scene?
Yeah, even better than that mid-credit scene, which is crazy. You saw the stakes at the end of Loki season 1 with He Who Remains. I just really can't wait for the second season of Loki after that. If this is what the story is going to be, I am 100% on board.
All I could think about was, is Loki scared? Like he looked like he was genuinely afraid. This is a man who tried to trick Thanos. I've never seen Loki look like he's about to shit himself. You know what I mean? Where he's like, when Owen Wilson was like, "You said he was scary," and he's like, "He is." I've never seen Loki like that. So, winter is coming. Kang is coming.
Yeah.
And then, so now we get to our favorite portion of the episode where we rank it. I kind of know where Jeff is going, so Jeff, why don't you start us off?
My dogs are looking forward to this part as well, or the mailman.
They don't.
That's probably
They don't even like your. They don't even like your take
Hey.
either.
You don't even know where I'm going to go. I'm not going to bench
Okay.
it, but I am going to give it a starter minus, which is a new score I just invented right now. It is right on the edge.
Just because you're the
Jonathan-
co-founder doesn't mean you can just make up rules. All
So
right.
what
Hey.
is the sixth man?
Sixth man, because you can't bench it with Kang in here, but with Cassie and all the Rebel characters in here, it gets pretty damn close. So, yeah, that's me. I've said my piece with this movie.
I'll give it an all-star just because of Jonathan Majors and as
That's
Kang.
what I like to hear.
Yeah, no, because I mean, like, if he wasn't in the movie for a lot longer, then I would give it a Hall of Fame. But because he didn't get as much screen time,
my god!
but because he didn't get enough screen time, I gotta give it that. I would watch it again. I would encourage other people to watch it, even if you're not an Ant-Man fan. I would say, hey, just watch this one at least. And I mean, I spent $30 on this popcorn helmet. AMC Studios, please.
You know there's no payola here, right? So, you know, we
Payola?
Hey, if
There's no-
AMC sponsors us, this movie will be a Hall of Fame for me too. So
AMC, I will gladly plug this helmet and your Stubbs membership if you sponsor us. Just like us on YouTube, something. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to pay us. Just like us or something.
So I'm gonna piggyback off what you said, Ahmed. A lot of when it comes to, especially with superhero movies, if I like it, a lot of it determines on rewatchability. Would I go back to the theater and watch this before it goes on whatever streaming service? And with this one, I will. Like, it's not, like I said, like, Jeff, it's not like, in recent MCU properties and releases, Thor 4 is probably the worst.
yeah,
And I will not watch Thor 4 again. Like, we did our recap show of, like, which ones we want to take back. Thor 4 was god-awful. But
yeah, Eric. When we do our next recap show, I feel I'm gonna bench this movie. I really do.
Again, but I think it does its job to set up what Phase 5 is, because I feel like maybe in a year and a half, when we're deep in Phase 5, we see Kang all over the place. We're going to come back to this one and be like, oh, okay, it wasn't as bad. And I think we're going to, it's going to be looked at more favorably. So for me, I'm going to make this a starter film as well. Not a six-man. I won't go all-star, but it's a starter because it sets up Phase 5. We finally feel like we have some direction, and everybody's channeling towards one central story. My dog is very much excited that I made this a starter and did not agree with Jeff, but that's where I'm going. Straight up starter. Guys, any last thoughts on Ant-Man 3 before we go?
We want more Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah. I hope Kang takes out Scott Lang in the next movie.
I mean,
And that's what I have to say.
Like I said, like, for this movie to be successful, I wanted Jonathan Majors' Kang to be set up as the next big bad, as someone that we care about, and I wanted an Ant family member dead. I didn't get an
He's
Ant
gonna
family member
he's just
dead.
gonna do this, and
Right.
that's a weird thing. It's like he could have just done this, and they all would have died immediately. But he
it was
went way
beautiful
too easy on them.
that when Hope and Scott were fighting him, and he just flicked them off, and I was like, thank God, finally. Like, but thank you guys, man. This has been fun. Ant-Man 3. We've been waiting for this one since the first trailer came out. Then there was another one that came out in January, which piqued our excitement. This is here. It's in theaters now. 2/3 of us will wait to see what Gerald thinks. but 2/3 of us think it did its job. Jeff probably might come back to this in a couple months and say, you know
We'll
what?
see.
This
Go watch
wasn't-
it in Dolby, Jeff. Watch
this
it in
wasn't
Dolby's.
as bad.
I am
But-
going to watch it on Disney Plus. How about
We
that?
thank y'all
Oh.
for hanging with us, watching us, subscribing to us on YouTube. Follow us on all our social media channels. We will have more content coming very, very soon. For Ahmed, for Jeff, I'm Eric, this Box Office Quarterbacks. Thank you, and we will see you later.